Smoking kills about 2 out of every 3 people who smoke often. Vaping, on the other hand, is not harmless, but it is much less harmful. This is why Dr. Catherine East and her colleagues wanted to help people understand the difference. So what exactly is vaping? Well, a vape is a small device that hits a liquid and turns it into an aerosol, which is like tiny droplets in a gas that people breathe in. Vapes use heat, but nothing is actually burning. Cigarettes work very differently. A cigarette contains tobacco, and when tobacco is burnt, it creates smoke that is packed full of toxic chemicals. When a person smokes, these chemicals can damage vital organs like the lungs, heart, and brain, just to name a few. And they can also cause cancer. Vaping, on the other hand, while not risk free and can still affect a person's body, has less toxic chemicals and is less harmful. Nicotine is found naturally in tobacco, and it is the part that makes cigarettes so hard to quit. Once your body gets used to it, it keeps asking for more. But nicotine itself is not what causes cancer or most of the serious damage from smoking. The real damage comes from burning the tobacco and breathing in all the toxic chemicals. The problem is that many people do not understand these differences, and these misunderstandings matter because they have harmful consequences. Research from 2024 found that in England, the majority of adults who smoked either thought vaping was just as harmful or more harmful than smoking cigarettes. At the same time, many teens underestimate how addictive and harmful vaping actually is, and that is making them more likely to start. So Dr. Catherine East and her colleagues knew that people had these wrong ideas about vaping, but they did not know how to fix it. And fixing it really matters because if people who smoke keep believing in the wrong thing, they are less likely to switch to something less harmful. At the same time, vaping is not completely safe either, so it should definitely be kept away from those who do not already vape. That is exactly why this team of researchers decided to do something about the problem. So to find out if these misunderstandings could be clarified to help people make healthier choices, the researchers first needed to know if it is possible to change what people believe about vaping harm. And to find that out, they first looked at what kind of messages have worked in the past. Second, they needed to know if their beliefs actually mattered. Does thinking vaping is harmful make people less likely to vape or smoke? So the researchers did something called a systematic review, which means that they went back and read through studies that other scientists had already done, collecting all the best available evidence. They searched 5 major online libraries and found studies published between 2007 and 2023. They set strict rules to make sure every study included was investigating exactly what they needed. The studies had to be about a specific type of health message that was trying to change what people thought about vaping. It also had to track what people believe more than once so they could see if anything actually changed. And it had to use numbers, counting how many people's beliefs changed and not just collecting people's opinions. So after sorting through studies, they found 85 that matched what they were looking for. 46 looked at whether health messages could change what people believed about vaping, while the other 39 looked at whether those beliefs actually changed what people did in real life. Like, did they start vaping, stopped, or try to quit smoking? One thing that made this study special is that they looked at young people and adults separately. And that was a smart decision because, as you will see, the challenge is different depending on who you are talking to. The study found that for young people between the ages of 11 to 19, messages mainly included school workshops or advertisements warning them that vaping is harmful and addictive. In 12 out of 14 studies, these messages successfully changed what they believed, at least in the short term. And those changed beliefs actually influenced what they did. In 8 out of 9 studies, young people who believed vaping was harmful were less likely to vape. But, and this is really important, some of those same messages making young people worried about vaping also accidentally led some to believe that vaping is just as harmful as cigarettes. For adults, the picture was similar in some ways. Messages were mostly written materials focused on telling them that vaping is harmful, but less harmful than smoking. In 24 out of 32 studies, these messages successfully changed what they believed, at least in the short term. But those who wrongly believed vaping was equally or more harmful than cigarettes were less likely to try switching to vaping to quit smoking. And this was shown in 5 out of 6 studies. On the other hand, when adults received correct information, their beliefs changed. And in 4 out of 7 studies, that change in belief predicted whether they actually use vaping to stop smoking. So the studies showed that health messages actually work when they are correct and reach the right person. So perhaps the most complicated part of the whole picture is the balancing act. The simple messages that work for teenagers, like vaping is dangerous, stay away, can keep adults who already smoke from switching away from cigarettes. At the same time, if young people wrongly believe vapes are harmless, they may choose to start vaping. So health campaigns need to be very carefully designed. One of the most hopeful takeaways from this study is that wrong beliefs can be corrected. When people receive correct information, beliefs change. And when people change what they believe, they change what they do. To help people make informed decisions, public health messages and health professionals must clearly communicate the harms of vaping while explaining that cigarette smoking carries greater harms. Now, this study cannot tell us everything. Some of the studies included were not very strong, so we cannot be fully sure all the results are right. Most only looked at what people thought right after seeing a message, not weeks or months later, so we do not know if the changes lasted. Almost all of the studies were from the United States, so the same results may not happen in other countries with different rules and views on vaping. The studies also do not fully show what happens in real life, where people are surrounded by many different messages every day. Another important point is that only published studies were included, so some studies that found no change may have been left out. Also, only one researcher checked the quality of the studies instead of two, which means something could have been missed. These are not reasons to ignore the findings, but they are reasons to treat them with care. This study was done by Dr. Catherine East and other researchers from the Universities of Brighton, Sussex, King's College London, and University College London. Some authors also worked with public health groups, but none were paid by tobacco or vaping industries. The study was funded by independent public health and research groups.